Lower abdominal conditioning can be done very effectively with the use of biofeedback tools. Now, biofeedback tools are pretty much anything that can give us information about the positioning of our bodies as we're performing movement. Now, a stick can do this. If we put a stick across the back when we move or we tip, we can find out if our spine is rounding and so forth because the stick will start to move. So, using biofeedback tools is super helpful, especially when we have micro movements that we want to monitor. And in one of these cases is with the lower abdominals. So lower abdominal training has a lot to do with monitoring the position of the spine. But monitoring the position of the spine is very difficult to do. So one way to do this is by using a blood pressure cuff as a biofeedback tool. Now the blood pressure cuff is not going to go around your arm, it's going to go underneath your lower back so you can monitor the position of the spine. This was done a number of years ago by some physical therapist researchers, and they made a wonderful piece of equipment called the Stabilizer biofeedback tool. It's made by Chattanooga. It's very good, but if you don't have access to one of these, you can simply use a blood pressure cuff. Now, when I use a blood pressure cuff, the only challenge that I found with it is that this tubing needs to have a nice extender hose for some of us individuals who are much taller. So for me, I'm 6'4", so it's very hard for me to use the extension tool that comes with it because as I put the cuff underneath my lower back, I feel like I'm straining to look at the dial. But if it works for you, it's long enough, you can use that. But I prefer at all times to be able to use a blood pressure cuff or the Chattanooga stabilizer when possible, rather than using the hand as a biofeedback tool underneath the back because it's just not as accurate and you can get away with a lot worse form if you're not using a tool. So I'm going to show you how to set up the biofeedback tool here, the blood pressure cuff. It's the exact same setup as the Chattanooga stabilizer before you do your exercises. So what we want to do is we want to fold up this cuff so that it's approximately 5 to 6 inches in width. Now, when we've done that, what we want to do is identify the right position where we're going to put it underneath the spine. So, approximately L3, which is where we want to put the cuff, is belly button level. And you're going to find that that pretty much fits nicely underneath the lumbar arch in the spine. So what we're going to do is, we found that arch, there's the belly button. I'm going to stick that cuff right there and then rest down so that the spine rests right on the center of the cuff. Now, from there, we want to make sure that the bulb is closed so air is not escaping, and I'm going to hand that to you. And we have the cuff dial. Now, the dial is going to give us the biofeedback information that we're looking for. Now, the dial measurements, what we want is to pump it up to an initial setting. And the initial setting is when we're pretty much doing absolutely nothing. And then we're going to increase the pressure by doing a pelvic tilting motion. So there's two pieces to this. Now, we want to make sure that we're in the right spinal position by our setup. We want to make sure that the feet are flat on the floor, approximately 12 inches from the rear end, and this is where we're going to set up our cuff. Now from here, what we can do is we can find neutral spine. Neutral spine is if we push the back completely flat down against the floor, and then we go all the way up into an arch, and then we find the place that's roughly in between those 2 points, and that's going to be our setup position. So when the cuff is placed there, we tilt, and then we flatten, and then we find the spot in the middle. We're going to hold that position when we actually pump up the cuff to the first reading. So what is the first reading? For the first reading, I prefer to use 60 millimeters mg, which is mmHg, which is millimeters of mercury. It's a good starting position. There's a number of reasons why I select a little bit more than the cuff readings say in the textbooks, which is usually 40 millimeters, and usually has a lot to do with the position of the thoracic spine. So for our purposes, we're going to set up in the neutral, and then we're going to start the cuff with 60 millimeters at rest. So I'm going to hand that to you, and what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and pump that cuff up to 60 millimeters of mercury. So make sure that the cuff goes underneath the lower back before you start pumping it up. A lot of times I have people say, I can't get the thing set up because they're holding the bladder in their hand. It has to be underneath the lower back when you pump it up. The next thing to do is to make sure that dial is closed. So are we at 60? So at 60, we're just holding this neutral spinal posture, and now the first exercise is just breathing, holding that pressure right on 60. And what you're going to notice is there's a little bit of fluctuation with breathing. This is normal. But a lot of times when there's dysfunction, there's a lot of movement in the dial going above to 65, maybe even sometimes to 70, and then it may drop just from breathing. So we want to try and hold it as close to 60 as we possibly can. So for some people, that's going to be an exercise. So the next piece is, after we've learned how to do that, okay, just holding the dial still while we're breathing, usually takes a few minutes just to get this down, we're going to do the pelvic tilting element. Now, I want to make a special note here is that individuals who have spinal pathology such as a disc herniation are taught not to flex the spine. And flexing would be anything that moves the spine down toward the floor may cause a disc herniation to get worse. So in those cases, all of the exercises are done with the 60 millimeters. So you don't actually move the spine. You will omit this step. But if you don't have a problem or spinal pathology, or if you have an extension-based pathology such as spinal stenosis or spondylolisthesis, you may actually benefit from doing the pelvic tilting. So we've got an instruction to avoid spinal flexion if you have any kind of flexion-based problems that get worse when you do flexion. And some of them are improved when you go into flexion if you have an extension-based problem. Now, bottom line is, if you don't know which way it is, you can always start with the setup position at 60 and then do the exercise, which is completely fine. So as you can tell, there are a couple of reasons why you may do one or the other. So from right now, we're set up at 60. We're going to do the pelvic tilting piece. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to perform a posterior pelvic tilt. That's where the back goes down, which is flexion of the spine, very gently to bring the dial up to 80 millimeters of mercury. So that's plus 20. This is very little spinal motion, very little. So as we do that, we're going to do that with the least amount of effort necessary to perform that motion. Now, as we move the dial up to 80, our goal is to hold it dead on 80 and keep breathing with the least amount of effort necessary, and we're going to hold that for the amount of time listed on your program. Now, as we've done that, letting the shoulders, the neck relax, letting any additional muscle activity that doesn't need to be turned on, letting that relax as you do this, we relax completely. And relaxing completely is going to get us back to that 60 millimeters of mercury, and then we can pelvic tilt again, that posterior pelvic tilt, bringing the dial back up to 80, and then just breathing, keeping the dial at 80, and that's the exercise performed for the number of repetitions that is necessary given your corrective exercise program.